impact terror, guiding the way. This is not man versus machine. This is people empowered by aid.
All right, all right. Hello and good afternoon, good morning to certain people, and good evening. Thank you everyone for joining in. Well, I hope that was an icebreaker, some good messaging. So great. Thank you everyone for joining in. And before the class begins, this is more or less, it's an 8-hour training, which is the AZ-2007 GitHub Copilot, the features of it and so on. But then we are basically conducting an overview session, right? So our trainer and consultant and also here, Mr. Sarbijit Singh is based out of Singapore. He will be the trainer for today. His expertise lies around multiple, he's been a Microsoft MVP for almost 13 plus years. He's been in the Microsoft ecosystem for 30 plus years. He's a private pilot license owner as well as a racing car driver. How often do you get a trainer who's got all of these, right? So he's got vast amount of experience and expertise in implementation, consulting, training. So bringing him forth for you all to understand what this is about, what are the new features, and how we can help you all as well. So it's a very much a developer track. We've got people joining in from different countries out here, and this is a part of the AI credentials campaign, right? So we will be providing you a step-by-step guide in order to use, in order to how to set up your Microsoft Learn account, because at the end of this session, we will be providing you with the redemption badges, which you all can add into your training portfolio. So there you go. I'm going to put that in there. So please do click on the link and set up your Microsoft Learn account if you do not have one. If you do have one, there's nothing that you could need to do. And at the end of this training, you will also receive the new co-branded certificate of completion of this session. And also we will be showing you the Skill Spot learning platform that we will be providing you, which is a LMS learning platform, which is free of charge until end of June. There are 3 different trainings out there that you need to complete, do the assessment, and you get a chance, an opportunity to get a free exam voucher as well from Microsoft. So that's directly from Microsoft. We've collaborated. So you need to pass the assessment. You need to complete the training. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to Gil. Gil, over to you. Thank you very much, everyone. And I wish you all the best.
Give me 30 seconds, Azaf.
No worries, no worries. So, yep, that's that. And in the meantime, is there anything else I got to share with you? Let me just see while Gil gets ready. Yeah, so that's the course.
I'm back.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Gil.
Okay, cool. So basically the course that needs to be we're going to talk about is a course, and that is going to be what we call the Microsoft use of GitHub Copilot, correct? So I'll share all these links with you later on in the chat as well. All right. So officially the course is called the AZ-2007, and the idea of that course is to be able to learn how to utilize a very powerful one of the top development copilots, and that is the GitHub Copilot. Now you might come and say, well, maybe a Cloud Pro is better, but the best part is you can use Visual Studio Code and use that as a UI to maybe a third-party copilot if you want to, correct? But the built-in, if you want a full functionality and the full features and the best out of the box with Visual Studio Code, that would be your GitHub Copilot. All right. So now many of you must have heard information about what is a Copilot and the AI agent and they're interactively used. Now, the idea for Copilot, I always like to describe this. A Copilot is nothing more than a UI assigned to an AI agent. This is what it is. Correct? So in the AZ-2007, which is how to accelerate your development work with the GitHub Copilot, is the idea that we're going to use the UI that's part of VS Code, correct? Of course, there are other couple of UIs that you can use, but VS Code is the de facto standard. So you as a developer get to interact with the UI in VS Code, and you are going to interact with some really powerful AI agents. Now, when you put that together, what you have is a Copilot, aka GitHub Copilot, correct? So if you've never used that before, so this is my Visual Studio Code, and you can see right here on my right side is my chat.
Gil, are you sharing your screen?
I am sharing a screen. I'm not sharing a screen. Let me share that again one more time. You're not seeing it?
No.
Okay, let me do that one more time, and that's here. See now?
Yeah. Oh, you've been writing as well. Okay, great.
Okay, cool. Let me do that again. So here, so this is what I was referring to. Correct. This is my Copilot. A Copilot is nothing more than a UI in front of an AI agent, so a human could interact with the agent via the UI. In our case, the UI is a Visual Studio Code. All Copilots are like that. So if you look at a Microsoft 365 Copilot, they have a UI integrated into a browser chat or into a Microsoft 365 application, and you're interacting with an agent. The agent then gets access to many different things. Of course, gets access to tools, to memory, to data, to files, to you name it, correct? And of course, other agents, and most important, to MCP servers. Now you can just, this literally is unlimited on what are the capabilities that you can have. And one powerful thing that you can do is you can also connect with remote agents, correct? These remote agents can do different things for you, but all your interactions going to the Copilot, which is this here, and then later on you are interacting with all the other agents. So the cool part is I'll show you here. This is my VS Code. So in the VS Code on the right side, so you can actually see that this is the panel for, this is the panel for GitHub Copilot, and this is literally where I would work with the code. And you can see right here, I've logged into my GitHub account, and the GitHub account is licensed for GitHub Copilot at a professional pro version, not the enterprise version. And once that login is successful, I literally get to run this chat, and you can see I can open that up, correct? One cool thing with the chat, it's unbelievable what I could do. So you can see, because I have access to a couple of other MCP servers, so you can see I have all these access to agents. Can you see all these agents? All these are different agents I can talk to, correct, via this Copilot. The Copilot can also go into agent mode, which means it can do full end-to-end automation if I need to, or I can just use it to ask questions. And the cool part recently, what Microsoft has been doing is to be able to bring some of the coolest models from literally some of the best large language models in the world. And that includes things like Anthropic. So you have Claude here. You can see I have some of the best Claude models. I have Gemini, and of course I have OpenAI. So I've been using Claude 4.6. So recently, one of my customers said, "Hey, can you tell me what is the cost to build this website?" And all I did was say, "Hey, can you estimate the cost of building such a site as this?" And this was in the ask mode, and you can see that it did some pretty cool analysis, brought it down to this level, correct, and kind of describe what usually the rate would have been if I wanted to do this, correct. Recently, I started to do when I'm developing Power Platform applications, I'm literally going pro code first. Best way to do that is to literally write the code, get the GitHub Copilot to write the code and connect to my connect to my Power Platform environment and literally go code first rather than using the GUI first. It's so cool, right? And recently, one of my customers said, "Hey, I want to build a website, and can you show me typically what it look like in about half an hour?" I
Sorry, sorry, Gil. I think there's a distortion in your voice. Is it only for me? Hasid, can you reconfirm?
Yes, I think there is some distortion.
Yes.
Voice is breaking.
Okay, can we try it again, Gil? The last 30 seconds.
think my next out.
It's very low.
Better?
Still the same. It was really good at the initial, just the last 30 seconds.
Now it's okay.
Still the same, buddy.
Yeah, I think. Hold on. I think my CPU is suddenly happened because
No,
I kicked off the.
no worries, no worries.
When you run Visual Studio Code, if you haven't touched for a while, it starts updating. In a minute, and I should.
Sorry, guys, just a small technical glitch. We're gonna get back again soon.
There you go. To manager, see what's happening here, and there you go. All right, so it's looking.
Sorry, Gil. Okay, the voice is much better now. Yeah.
Yeah, because for some reason suddenly there was a spike in usage of my CPU. Okay, much better now. Cool. Okay, cool. So what I was saying is, um, um, the idea is that I was creating a website here, and it took me about half an hour to generate a full-blown website, put that in Azure, and eventually demo that to a customer within half an hour. Correct? So let's go back here and take a look at what is these course all about, and I'll walk through with you pretty much what the content of this training would be like. So a couple of things is going to happen. So four main areas that we focus on when we're using a tool such as GitHub Copilot. Number one is generating documents. So a lot of times when you're writing code, you're gonna need to generate documentation. Either these are internal inline documentation, or this could be documentation that's generated as documentation files, including things like release notes and stuff like that. Correct? So that's first thing. The second part, of course, is to develop code, literally write code. Brand new code that has never been written before, and this is either being done inline as you are writing your code and new codes being generated and suggested, or you could just go to agent mode and say, hey, write me a piece of code which could do something for me. Correct? So just to show you how that gets started, I'm going to go here and close this chat here and say, hey, I'm going to go into agent mode, and I'm going to use Claude 4.6, as you can see. And one of the cool things that you do is when you are using your GitHub Copilot, you notice I get to take a look at my usage. There's a little icon here of this animal, and you get to see all your usage. One of the most interesting thing is this one here, because you're running a pro version of your subscription. You get to see how many premium requests you have made. So this is empty at the moment because as of 1st April, it gets refreshed, and I get to start brand new again. All right. You can see that at the beginning of every month, it will reset all the usage, and then you go back to start again. All right. So I could go here, and I mean, one of the most common tests that we do with Copilots when we are working with them, especially for development purposes, we usually say, hey, can you write a snake and ladder application in Python, correct? And which allows for 2 players and 16 snakes and 12 ladders. All right, let's start with a console app, and then eventually building a GUI to it. Correct? So I'm notice I'm in agent mode at the moment. All right, we're gonna launch that out. All right, so you can see it's actually doing the work. Now, one of the thing with agent mode is agent mode means that it gets to modify functionality directly in your editor. All right, it's going to go ahead and start doing this changes directly end to end. So you can see that right now it's using Claude 4.6 Opus. It started all its thinking work. It created all the documentation. And one of the cool thing with GitHub Copilot is by default, it will not take an action unless you allow it. Of course, I'm going to allow it now, and I can also allow all these commands in this session, or I can allow them to happen as per they are popping up, correct? So I'm going to go ahead and say, allow all commands in this session. So now he's not going to prompt me again for permission, and he's going to go ahead and start running all of those commands, correct? If there's something new, it might pop up again and ask me that again, but it's just going to go ahead and get the job done for now, all right? So you can see it's creating the file. Now, this is what agent mode is all about. It literally goes from end to end until you get the results at the end. So a turnkey kind of a functionalities, all right? And you can see now, again, so it says it created some code. It's going to write that code into the file. I'm going to say allow in this session because it remembers what I said earlier, and that's a code. And now it's gone into the editor and it's created that file and it's asking me, there's a prompt here to see whether if I want to keep the code. I say, yes, I want to keep the code, and it's done with that already, correct? So now it's going to go ahead and create all the other information that I need. So you can see that it's creating a console UI module, right? And then eventually all the full details. So let it run. And just to give you an idea, you can see that all of that, the environment that's using right now, correct? So at the moment, it's actually using Python 3.11. And if I go back here, you will see that a premium request has been made. And that's 1% of the premium request has been used at the moment, correct? You can see local agent is in progress at the moment. Of course, it needs connectivity to the internet, but that is in process at the moment. Can I walk away from this? Of course I can, correct? Because I've already allowed for all the changes to happen in this session. It will keep doing that stuff. Okay, now a lot of people are very used to the Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code interface. So having this functionality in there is a complete game changer. Here we go, and let's see if it comes back. So you can see right now, so it also ran some tests, and it says all the tests has been passed, correct? It literally now it's simulating a full game setup. It executed the terminal commands, and for it to make sure it works. Let me close this down again. Okay, and right at the bottom, he says, look, this is the game feature that's been created, and look at run it with by running this command. The architecture is designed for the GUI phase, which I haven't done yet at the moment, correct? There's 0 UI dependency. So when you're ready, we can build the GUI that imports the bot and game directly. How cool is that, correct? So let's go and run this thing, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the terminal. This is my terminal window. I'm going to have an option here to paste this directly in the terminal window, correct? Or just copy it. Oops, sorry, no, that was the cursor. It should be in the terminal window, correct? So apply in where the cursor is. Oh, it's still going the wrong place. Hold on. I tell you what, I'm just gonna make it easier. I'm gonna just copy it here, all right? And let's run the game. And you can see the game is actually running now. Player 1, enter is, let's call this Zaf, is player 1. And then player 2 is Gil, that's me, and there you go, correct? So for example, I'm gonna start the game, and that's the game. Correct, Zaf's turn, press enter to roll the dice. Zaf's roll the dice, he gets 6. move from start to 6. So number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Zaf is here now in number 6, correct? And then you can see that's player 1 is in position 6, and it's my turn right now. Okay, I also rolled 6. I'm also in the same location. Now I'm going to go on, and we'll get it done with the game, correct? Cool. Okay. So let's say if I want to end the game's ended, and I'm gonna go here. The game works. The game works. That is really good. Correct. Let's go on and build the GUI face. Correct. And there you go. So it's now gonna go ahead and do that part. Correct. So just wanted you to demo that part for me. Now I'll come back here. And it says I'm going to allow in this session, and it's going to go ahead and continue to do the GUI part for me, correct? So I was talking about this earlier. So if you take a look at the way the code is written, correct? This is the code. I can always come back to any part of the code, correct? So I can select a piece of code, and you notice that little icon shows up. Or I could select a piece of code here, and I could go into a shortcut option. I could go and ask for this in the chat if I want to. I can also ask for the code to be explained or reviewed, or I could even ask for a certain format to be done, correct? I'll come back to the documentation a bit later. But it keeps working on that right now for me for the next phase.
Gil,
What else can we do?
Yeah, Gil, we've got someone who's raised their hands. Umair.
Just a quick question here. So you mentioned the usage limit, and you were showing the usage limit resets on 1st April, right? But I was just wondering if there is also a session limit or something, because I was working with Cloud Code and there was also a session limit. So if there is no session limit, like a 5-hour limit, then that's also a feature, right?
Correct. That's correct. So I haven't used Claude, so I'm not sure what so when you say session limit, what does that mean? Is that the amount of tokens that you can use?
Exactly, yeah. So you can use a very limited amount of tokens in a 5-hour window. And if let's suppose you use that amount in 2 hours, then you have to wait for the 5-hour session limit to reset, and then you have to continue
That's not a free
again.
version.
No, even on the pro version.
No, I don't have that. I have that limit that you saw just now, but once I hit the limit, I have an option to use pay as you go, so I can keep working.
And that's just a monthly limit, right?
Yeah, so monthly limit, but I can also use pay as you go, which means I have no limit.
Perfect. Yeah,
Correct.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but I realize most of the time, if I work almost 3-4 days in a week, I hardly touch this max. This premium request hardly goes to maybe about 40 to 50%. I've never gone more than 60% ever. I've created some, because initially it's a lot of requests, but then once you've got the base code working, it's always small, tiny changes that you're doing throughout the whole week. So it doesn't really fly up. Only the first instance that I run, it's going to take a lot of requests, correct?
And this is you using Opus, right? Which is like the highest, I think. It uses the
absolutely.
most of the limit, yeah.
I need a lot better than GPT. This is a game changer.
Yes,
So recently
100%.
I was just testing out Cloud Code, and I just installed the extension. And 2 things I can do: I can use a Cloud AI, a Cloud Pro subscription, which is like $20 a month. I can use that here, or I can go and spin up stuff in Azure Foundry and then use Cloud using my own Claude model that I'm running in Azure Foundry. Correct? I can do either way.
Amazing. Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. So you can see that it's actually still working while we are busy doing that stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and say allow in this session, and it's going to go ahead and do that stuff. But the coolest thing was Microsoft, when I started working with Power Platform, it turns out that in January 2026, Anthropic released a lot of cool functionality with integration of Power Platform with Claude. So it could literally build an entire Power Platform, Power Apps, Canvas app, and stuff like that from scratch. And there you go. I've got my GUI. It's just crazy, right? There you go. So haven't even gone to my slides yet, but this is cool stuff. Go and start game, and wow, there you go. All right, so I've got a, usually the snake and ladder is a pretty cool way of validating when you're doing some GitHub, a Copilot with for development. And usually you can change more, add more snakes, you can add more ladders, make it a lot more complicated, correct? Okay, so I'm gonna roll a dice and you can see that that's gone to 14, correct? And then roll the dice and I've got a ladder. I've got a better ladder than Zav. Zav, look, you only moved here. I moved a lot more.
You're cheating.
Hey, I didn't cheat. I just wrote the code. I think because it knows I was I'm the P2, so it always gave me better benefit. I'm just kidding. I don't think so. He's doing that though. All right, cool. So that's just an example of what I could do. So let me go back here again. So that's the first part. The second part, of course, generating the dev code I showed you earlier. And this is one of the most significant thing, unit tests, correct? So when you have a lot of code, and one of the most important part of a developer before they check in the code into their repo is going to be that debug. So we have this inner circle, outer circle that we use to describe the value that a developer does work. So we think the inner circle is the one that you write the code, you test the code, you debug the code, and then you commit the code, and then you go back again, that cycle. Now, because out of all the things that the developer does, the idea of check in the code is most probably the highest value. Yes, the person still has to debug and they still have to run unit tests, but we consider that as text. Things that we don't want to do, but we have to do. Or else you're not going to be able to do the value work. So we want to take this too and take it away. So documentation, unit tests, and stuff like that, and running those tests, those we can give that as much as possible to the Copilot, so we can always focus on creating new code and checking new code. And that's the inner circle. So the inner circle has to run a lot more faster than the outer circle, because every time the inner circle runs, it releases a piece of code to the outer circle. And every time it runs, new code is released. The outer circle takes longer to run because its job is to do the CI part of it, correct? And of course, pass on that to the CD pipe, to the CD. It's part of the whole automation. And usually the bigger circle brings in code from other places as well, including, bringing in some frameworks, and that usually runs lower. So in a machinery kind of a scenario, the inner circle has to move a lot more and keep releasing code to the outer circle, correct? So I suppose if you take a look at a production line, this is the production line where things, as they move, eventually you get the end product. But there are all these other lines which are feeding into this line, correct? So this could be the engine, this could be the wheels, the dashboard, the electronics and stuff like that. They have to keep coming in a lot, so you can eventually get a car which is being manufactured at the end. So this inner circle, outer circle part is really valuable, and we need to make sure we are focusing on the right one. So the unit test usually is a big portion of that component, correct? And the final one will be to do this, to implement code improvement. And there'll be times where you inherit code from someone or some other project, and maybe your project is running into delay, and you inherit the code, and you bring in a GitHub Copilot and say, hey, I've inherited this code. I want this code to be explained. Tell me what the code is, correct? So once the code is explained to me, then I can ask for the code to be optimized, to be improved, or maybe even to shorten and make sure the code, we add some additional functionalities to the code. Okay, so that part is really important. With the development testing, well, maybe we hit a certain deadline or we are getting certain bugs that we want to fix. We want to take that to the next level. So we want to make sure that we develop some really decent unit tests, correct? So let me just go into the part of how GitHub Copilot works. I'll just show you that here. So you can see under extensions, we're gonna go right under extensions. So you will see if I go into a filter and I say, show me the installed ones, I'll zoom in, don't worry about it. And right here, you would see that I have my GitHub Copilot extension, correct? So usually they used to have two separate extensions. This is the extension currently we use. and you can see that amount of time this extension has been used at just today. And of course, that settings for this extension. So if I click on settings for GitHub Copilot Share, that takes me to, let me go back into settings here. And that will be all my settings that I need with regard to GitHub Copilot, correct? So let's see what I have in here, right? I'm gonna maximize the screen over here. So you can see things like settings, the way you want to automate, the way you want to improve, how do you want the GitHub Copilot to have control over how you are working with it, correct? So you can see right here, I get to decide whether I want to enable automatic fix diagnostics by editing the files. And one cool thing right down here, okay, there's also an option to enable entropic models, and that's why you see this cloud that I'm running earlier, correct? And right down here, you can also decide what kind of context you want to provide, correct? Here you go. Okay, allow bypass permission in mode, recommended only for sandbox and no internet. Look at this. Allow dangerously skip permission. You saw earlier, it wasn't skipping the permission. You were always asking me before I do something. So they think that if you run a sandbox environment, you most probably can do that if you want to, correct? And then there's specific settings just for the Claude agents. Of course, instruction files are important to be defined. So you use instruction files. It goes all the way down to even suggesting how can I use public code? Am I allowed to use public code? And so on and so forth, correct? And public code that's available, can I bring them up here as well? And what you will also see is this preview features will be brought into you. So you can see these are preview features. You can turn them on if you want to, correct? And you can also see there's quite a number of those that are showing up. You notice the amount of entropic options that are available compared to many months ago. That was always about OpenAI only, correct? So I think Microsoft is looking at the idea that Visual Studio Code was tested and run with OpenAI models, and it turns out to be very well adapted. But you know, there are a lot more models out there doing with very specific functionalities, and that integration is coming here as well. So that's all the settings part that you would do. There's a lot of stuff, not possible to go through each one of them, but pretty much that scenario as well. Okay. So that's the setting. And once you have that running, of course, you sign into your GitHub account, correct? Either you're using a pro version or enterprise account. Once you've done that already, you're ready to go. And depending on what you want to do, you could end up with other accounts. So for example, I do a lot of work with Fabric. So you will see that I have the Fabric extension as well. So because I have the Fabric data engineering extension, I can actually get GitHub Copilot to write code, which I'm going to push into VS Code. So we did a project recently, if you want customer, where we wrote almost 300 lines of Python code. Not a single one of them was manually written. It was all done by using this extension and using GitHub Copilot, correct? So I gave it some really complex CSV files, and I say that I want to extract the data from here, and I want to do certain transformation, and then it literally wrote the whole code. I pushed that to Visual Studio Code, to Fabric, and I have a functionality. Eventually, I made some minor changes, and it went live in 2 weeks, correct? So it's a really powerful part. So what I was doing recently, my test is all about Power Platform at the moment. So connecting the Power Platform and connecting to Dataverse. I'm gonna leave this one out now. I'm going to go back. We tested this, it works. I'm going to show you that I also have something called the Ask mode. I'm going to go into Ask mode now, and I'll say, do you work with Dataverse? Correct. And look, it's going to come back and tell me. So this is Ask mode, means don't take any action. I'm just asking you a question like the way I would in a chat, and I just want to know, correct? I don't have specialized pool of skills, but I can help with Dataverse related programming, correct? Okay, so I can say great. So I'm going to say great. I have a huge Excel file which I want to import into a Dataverse. correct? Dataverse, can you do that? Can you do that? The reason I'm asking because I've done this before. It will need to connect to a whole bunch of different things. There you go. Correct. He said, I can't directly import files into database for you. I don't have access to the database. Okay, so it's giving me literally the code. So the reason it doesn't have the Dataverse environment connection is because I haven't granted him that right, correct? So let me go back here and, all right, so here you go. Okay, so what if I gave you access to Dataverse, to a Dataverse environment? You notice this is ask mode, correct? Ask mode means I just want to ask some questions. We're going back and forth like in a normal chat, trying to figure out how to do, correct? Okay, so that's cool. Look, it's actually looking for an MCP tool that will allow it to connect to an MCP Dataverse MCP server, correct? There you go. It says, look, you know, we can build an MCP server that connects to the Dataverse web API, and then we can generate a code, or you can copy paste the code and you can make it work, correct? So it's actually suggesting the ways I can get this done. Pretty cool stuff, correct? And I could then give him the sample data of the Excel file and he will literally get the job done for me, correct? So let me see. Hold on. I do a lot of work with AWS S3. You can see this is the Lakehouse bus. And here, this was basically a CSV file from AWS S3 that was extracted, and the code was written to bring that file into Microsoft Fabric. It was pretty cool stuff. There you go. That was the Dataverse database design request. So this was something that I did, and it actually generated a response that I wanted, correct? And you can see that I say, hey, you know, I want to create a comprehensive sample data for testing a loan management system covering all entity with realistic scenarios. I could go try again, and it will then start doing that for me one more time. It's pretty cool stuff what I can do with this, okay? So the first part is just to show you the functionality, correct? So in this course, the AZ-2007, we also have labs. So there'll be a lab that's provided where you're given the GitHub account. I think in this case, I think in some scenario, the customer comes with their own account, in the lab might provide an account that you can use as well. So this is the code, the documentation bit. I think this is very, very significant, correct? So either you can just go pick up code and ask to explain it. I'll show you where that looks like. So look, I can actually go and grab this code here, and I can ask for explain. You see, when I'm asking for explain, it's going to go out there and come back and explain to me what that code is all about. Can you see? So it's explaining that class that was created there, right? Oh, sorry, I went to select a change, and that went to settings page. We'll come back to that later. There you go. That's the explanation part. So literally, I selected the piece of code over there. Hold on, let me just close this section here. Don't need that anymore. And that's the explanation. All I did was use a slash command and say write an explanation for the text I've selected. You notice that in here you can see the context of that file. And usually if I select an area of that code, that eventually becomes a context that gets to be used. I can always drag and drop additional context in here if I want to. I also have this tuning option. These are tools. You can see I have a lot of built-in tools that I can use, and there's a lot of MCP servers that I can select, so correct? So there's an MCP server for Azure. I'm just going to show you this part. Give me a minute, and I'm going to extend. This is the Azure MCP and what it can do. I can pick and choose those tools that I want to allow my GitHub Copilot to have access to, right? And right down here, you notice that I can always add additional context. But of course, it's always looking at what I'm doing in the editor and the questions I've asked so far. and it will then use that as memory to be able to understand what's happening. So I have a developer friend, and the developer friend has been using GitHub Copilot. You know what the cool part is? After about a year, the GitHub Copilot kind of figure out that this person is pretty good at what they do, correct? And I'm going to show you, this is how it looks like now. He said, look, in your 25 years of experience, you're likely seen. Can you see that, how cool that is? It knows that that developer is very experienced. You have likely seen this last mile connection issue many times. Here is where the breakdown usually happens. That is crazy cool, right? It actually learns that the person who's writing the code has some pretty good experience. Here's another example. Look at this. Now that the hot label of instructs done, it's time for the brain work. Since you are a veteran, can you see that? I'll skip the basics. So he says, okay, I know you have had so much experience. Most probably this came from a conversation earlier, or maybe something in the setting. It says, look, you have so much experience. I'm going to skip the basics and we're going to go straight into implementing a certain pattern. How cool is that, correct? So it literally understands how you work and what your expertise level is, correct? And he will then make that adjustments for you on the fly. I think that is really amazing to be able to get to that level of personal interaction. All right. You notice that I can also do inline code generation, correct? I can basically now notice that when you do in ask mode, you're just suggesting, but you can also go into what we call agent mode. There used to be an edit mode that's not there anymore because that's part of agent mode right now, correct? So I can go into agent mode and say, hey, I want to create some project files. So I'll go back here now, and I'm going to go back to my VS Code here, and correct, I'm going to go back to, where are we, correct? Okay, let's go back here, and I'm going to go back to the conversation. Where is this one here, correct? Okay. All right, so based on this project, can you create a project documentation file? Project documentation files, correct? And there you go. I'm going to use agent mode again, all right? And I'm going to go ahead and send this in, okay? And let's see what happens. It's going to go ahead and say, okay, well, I'm going to create some project documentations for you. It's going to start by reviewing all the files I have, all right? It's reading the main file, which is the snake and ladder main file, and it will come back to suggest what I need to do, correct? Looks like it's suggesting it's creating the readme.md file. It's also creating an architecture file, and then eventually we're going to see that stuff show up, correct? I can also do stuff like that. I can select this one here, correct? And you notice that I can go ahead and add this part. I can go ahead and ask in the chat if I want to, correct? I can also review that part of it if I want to, correct? So these, of course, these options are changing. They used to have this functionality. So look, I can go and ask in chat. What you notice, there's also an inline chat I can use, but in this part, this inline chat is not going to show up, correct? So let's go back here. You can see that's my inline chat. So when you say do the first two things, it's going to bring that code into the chat here, and you get to interact with it, okay? Here you go. We're going to keep the changes that we have. I'm going to open up this, and you can see that I have the two files created. This is the README file. There you go. And you can see I have an architecture file, which has been created. These are the documentation. These are project level documentation rather than file level documentation, correct? I'll close those two files right away. Pretty cool, right? So that is what this part is talking about, okay? So, of course, writing prompts is very useful, correct? So, for example, you could say things like refactoring code to improve performance. You could also say things like, hey, use a specific project or a specific part of the code to provide context, and always use very clear keywords to describe what you want to do, correct? And then, of course, writing prompts here is the same as writing prompts anywhere with a large language model, correct? So this is the first part. And you notice that I have these options I can use. I can add a variable to a conversation. So if I go right here, it's keep still doing this part here. So let it finish first. Once it's done, I'm going to be able to, there you go, correct? So he actually created an API reference file as well. And this is the API reference file that he created. Okay, so there's 3 files that were created. They were each described in detail. Okay, how cool is that? Okay, so what I was talking about earlier, so you notice when I run the slash option, I get to use all of these shortcuts here. So technically, sometimes we refer to them as agent as well. I can also add variables. Here you go, correct? And I can add that if you want to. So for example, I could use things like explain. I could use things like new and build something new if I want to, or demand the agent to do something for me. By the way, based on responsible AI, so you can see there's an audio option here. So it's very inclusive with people who want to use audio to dictate, or you just want to use a voice command function if you need to, right? So that's the start, the initial part first. And the other part would be to develop code. Literally to have code being suggested as you are working in the editor, correct? So for example, I could go to as simple as, go back here again, I could create a new file, let's call this a Python file, correct? And you can see the generate code option, correct? And I could go right here, generate code, and I could go ahead and start, correct? A class to set path variables, correct, for this project, correct? And I could then go ahead and do this, and I'm going to get the code generated. It's working on it, and there you go, correct? Or if I'm writing the code on the fly, it's going to go ahead and do that for me as well. So you can see I have the keep option. At the moment, there's only one of this copy code that's shown to me, correct? And you can see I'm going to go ahead and say keep it. And it says, well, you need to create that file if you want. I'm going to go ahead and save that file as well. It becomes part of the project file, correct? So I can always come back and update the documentation by saying, hey, I got a new file in there, and I want you to do that for me, correct? And right down here, just want to show you that if I put a remark, correct, you can see that as I'm writing this code, function to, you can see that? Suggesting a feature that I don't have. It most probably say, hey, if you want to do, I can put this feature in for you. How cool is that, correct? And if I was to press tab, that becomes available, correct? And now you can see that save, correct? So this part of the logic is written already, correct? I could go ahead and say generate the code, select this part here, and you can see that I can modify this part of the code if I want to, this part of the commands, and I could start with the writing the code. Let me see if I can get this out for you. I'm sending that out, see if that works. So I'm gonna say save. There you go, save game state. correct? You can see the load game state is none. And then as I go in type, you can see that data is going to show up. So that's a code generation part, correct? The next part usually will be to develop unit tests. So examples such as this, correct? So you can see the prompt says create a new test class in this file, and then write unit tests is prime for the is prime method to cover these scenarios, correct? And it just generates that for you, correct? And you notice that the cool thing that you can do, you can open the solution explorer, you can select your code, and you can then say run the test, correct? Or run the test, or you can say reveal in the test explorer so you get see the test result the way you want to, right? And of course, you can also select a code and then say you want to generate code for testing. You can just do that for you as well. That's pretty cool stuff, okay? And then of course, you can also do that inline. You can see here, I selected a piece of code, and then I say, can you create a unit test for the selected method? And I specify what test framework I want to use, and it's going to get that job done for me as well, correct? Pretty cool stuff. The last part of this course, which is a really amazing course, is to talk about code improvement, correct? So we want to be able to say, look, we have some code, either it's a bug that we want to fix, or it's a code that is slow, or it's too big, or just we don't know. But if you can suggest something, what should we do about this code? And he will go ahead and give you the suggestions, correct? So in this case here, this person wants to refactor the code, correct? We want to clean up the code, make it a little bit modular, and he starts breaking the two codes up, all right? So these 4 areas what we cover in the training, for each one of them, there's a lab. And this really is a cost to get you started, because once you kind of have a hang of how to get started with GitHub Copilot, all the other extensions come in, Fabric come in, Power Platform come in, Azure come in, and whatever code you write could go into any one of these platforms, depending on what you want to achieve, okay? So I've come down to the hour already, so let's see if there's any questions in the chat. Oh, no, there's only to the last part, which was the distortion. Right, Zaf, you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm here.
All yours. Don't seem like I have any other question in the chat.
Yeah. Any questions? How's it going, guys? Says Umair, Samir. Hope you guys learned something out of this.
Oh, no, it was amazing. It was an amazing session. Really, really thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Anything? Any questions? Anything you all want to know? So, hey, Samir. We can't hear you, Samir, unfortunately.
How about now?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. It was really, really interesting. One quick question from me about the extension for Power Platform. And the idea when that is going to be released, any timeline?
Sorry, can you repeat that again, Samir?
So regarding Power Platform, I think you mentioned that there are some extensions that will be released pretty soon for Power Platform or different platforms to write code. So any idea about when this will be released? I know you can do some basic Power Platform code writing, Power FX, but I'm not talking about vibe coding.
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can't really hear what the question is. Sorry about that.
Sorry, I got this mic which spends more fortune on this.
Vibe programming.
You said there will be a Power Platform extension, or Power Platform extension release.
Oh yeah, correct. There is.
Any idea when it will be publicly available?
It's there. It's there already because
It's already there.
Yeah, it's already there, correct? All you need to
Right.
do is log into the Power Platform extension. Here you go. So you can see once you're logged in already, it will then use it as as its contacts, and then from there you'll be able to go ahead and start using it. Correct. So you can see there's a profile here. So once you run, this is the Power Platform extension. Here you go. So I'm just going to open that up for you, and this is the one. Correct. So this platform extension. So all you have to do is log in. Correct. I can go ahead and add a login, and then I will be able to see the environment that I want to use. Here we go. Give me a minute, and that will take me in there. Logging in. Okay. So I most probably would have to start a brand new project. So this is just the profile that I have. And then what I need to do is I'll need to go into Copilot Studio. First, I need to go into my admin, which is my Power Platform admin, create an environment, make sure you give permission to the account that's being, the person using that account in VS Code. And then once you connect to your Power Platform extension, you get to see that the environment that are available, and you're ready to go.
Solutions
Right?
and everything. Yeah. So
it's available.
yeah. So the idea is that you connect to the environment and select the
Correct.
solution, and
Yeah.
that will be the context for the agent. So it will work within that context, right?
Correct. Yeah. And most of the time we end up using this, and the reason is because you can see the keyword is tools.
Yeah.
If it's tool,
Yeah.
it means it's available for the GitHub Copilot, correct? So it automatically picks up the SDK that it needs to get the job done, and it will run whatever commands that I need to. Okay.
Thank you so much.
No worries. So this is available. It's quite recent, but it should be available. They updated that to support GitHub Copilot functionality, so it uses it as a tool rather than an individual doing it. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so
Cool.
much.
So guys, I've shared the badges to be redeemed on the chat. Please do click on that link, and it'll take you to the learner profile. And in the meantime, I'm going to be giving you a feedback form, MTM. Please do give us your valuable feedback. That will help us as well. I'm going to send you all the MTM link for that shortly. In the meantime, we will also give you access to the learning platform that I mentioned before. So today's session, well, you will be able to get in all of these badges once you click on that link. Right, so go in here, start learning, because today basically was kind of an overview of what basically AZ-2007 covers, but it's just scratching the surface, right? But there's much more, and if you are interested to go in deep into this applied skills session, do reach out to us, and we would be more than glad to help you all and arrange a session for you all or for your organization. In the meantime, Samit, do we have the Power Platform, those templates that you want to showcase as well?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah,
Let me
yeah,
share.
please. Sure. So once again, Gil, I believe you're done, Gil.
Yep.
All right. Thank you
I
very
gotta
much.
jump into another call.
Hey, no worries. Thank you very much, Gil. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much.
One more thing. I think someone
Sure.
asked about the vibe programming. So what recently Microsoft did is really cool. Let me just jump into this, correct? So if you go into Power Platform, like if you go into make.powerapps.com, so what Microsoft recently did is, of course, they have their Copilot built in there, but now they have a vibe programming interface, and that's really cool. So if you go into Power Platform like this, correct, and you can see usually they'll ask you to create a plan, and then you provide advice that you want to, correct. So what you can do is you can go to vibe.powerapps.com, Go to vibe.powerapps.com and you can see that's a Vibe programming interface that open. It's a preview at the moment, and you could kind of specify what you want and start building a code first option for you. It's pretty cool stuff. This is something new. So I give you an example of what I did. I was working with a customer to create a prototype, and we used that same method, and it literally wrote out what the problem was, created the roles that I wanted to create, created the data model that I needed, and then specified the technology that was going to be used. And then if I go back to the plan, you get to see all of that functionality that it eventually builds. Pretty cool stuff. Okay. Can you believe it? This is the UI that it created.
Wow.
It created the UI for me. How the application will look like. And look, it's got all these sample data from the data, and it's showing me this is what we call Vibe programming in Power Apps. It's in preview at the moment. It's a game changer. It's ridiculous, yeah.
What's going to happen for the
I
developers?
had a discussion with the product team during the MVP summit about this. Obviously, we can discuss everything we covered, but I have a question, and it's coming from the different client I'm working with regarding vibe coding. Everyone is excited about vibe coding, but it feels like people are using it as to build POCs or to try certain things, but organizations are reluctant to put anything in production which was generated by AI. I mean, if you are a developer, you can use vibe coding to help you speed up the development time. But you can imagine someone non-technical, let's say someone from finance or HR, building solution.
You're right what you said about big enterprises, but with small businesses and SMEs, they go this way. I'm actually going to start this project with based on that UI and the code that we created and the plan that I created. We're going to go ahead and start building the application. And this is the game changer for SME because they get to compete at a whole new different level, correct? And they love it. And this is why I think it's going to be very powerful for mid-sized businesses where they don't have people who IT and they don't have that plan. So I'll show you the plan that I created for them. And literally from that, we're going to go ahead and decide what it's going to look like, and eventually we're going to go ahead and build that whole application from scratch. And the value of the application is close to 200,000 Singapore dollars, and it's all done based on that Vibe interface and this plan that I created also with Copilot, with the full model and all the agents that I need. Here we go. This is the plan. Correct. You can see this is what it says I need. And when I looked at the agent that it recommended, these are two agents. The cool part is it followed the cloud adoption framework, that it only created agent which was in very specific scenarios like document heavy processes, correct? And if you look at the process, this is the process. I'm going to show you that whole, this is the whole workflow. And then what I did is I start modifying that workflow a bit here and there. And before you know it, I got the whole thing done. I think for small businesses, this is where it's going to happen because it's expensive for them to hire people and manage IT projects. But when you can start to use AI to get a jump ahead, that's a game changer. It's a big disruption for small and mid-sized businesses. Enterprise, yeah, there's too many red tapes to follow before they get this into production. But with small businesses, it's most probably a fast sprint. Cool. Just wanted to share that vibe and this part of it.
This is amazing. Thank you, Gil, for sharing this. I think this is what people want to know as well, And we've got Cesar asking. Hopefully, it won't change the licensing pricing if it's released to everyone. I think that's what he said. Yeah, they're going to calculate. Okay, how much am I going to spend on a person or using this license?
And so eventually with the customer, because there's 3 applications that we build, so they just paid $5 per app, so it's 15. They could have paid 20, and we only use one premium. We only use one premium connector, which is the WhatsApp. And I'm actually working on that WhatsApp right now. And here's my WhatsApp manager. I'm going to add the phone number, and I'm going to start connecting to the WhatsApp channel, which means they will upload receipts and stuff like that, and the agent picks it up.
Are you sharing the screen,
recommendation.
Gil?
Sorry?
Are you sharing your screen? You said something about showing some WhatsApp.
Yeah, here. This is my WhatsApp manager, and I'm going to assign the phone number to it. And once done, and then I go into my Azure communication channel, I'm going to connect that WhatsApp number, and the channel's available now for publishing for Copilot Studio agents. This is the only premium stuff I'm doing. The rest is pretty cool. So this agent runs on WhatsApp, talking to their customers when they do upload their document or receipts or whatever not. It picks it up and then he sends that to the back and gets a human to validate whether this is correct, and finds that information inside the bank statements or their databases. Pretty cool, right?
Super. This is
All right, cool.
This is going to help a lot of organizers. I think SME and SMB customers are really going to take advantage out of this.
All right, Zaf, I got to drop off. I got another call to take in the US.
Hey,
time.
thanks, man. Thanks a lot. Thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot.
everybody, for
Appreciate
attending.
it.
It was really a pleasure. All
So,
right, take care.
guys, just stay back. We've got a small. Samir's got some giveaways for you as well to showcase some of these cool templates that he has created. So it makes life much more easier for y'all. So, Samir, over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me share the screen. All right. So what we have done here is we have built a marketplace for Power Apps templates. The idea is that we want low-code, no-code Power users to start from a ready pre-built template, similar to WordPress or websites where you get a template and you start putting your content and your pages and so on. So here, if you go to powerappstemplate.com, you have a section for all the templates. And we have grouped the templates by type. So you have the desktop templates or the mobile templates, and you can filter by different things. Let's say you want a live template, and you have templates for different scenarios. For example, this one is company learning portal. You have something for CRM or customer complaints. You have onboarding template. You have another customer complaint template. And all these have been built with Power Apps Canvas apps. There is no PCF controls here or custom codes. And when you download those templates, you will be able to get an unmanaged solution. So you can customize, you can modify, you can duplicate screens and create your own design. This is an example of a template, a dark skin template for customer complaints. And you see that you get some nice bar charts, you have some nice design, and this is fully responsive as well. You have some forms here with a timeline and so on. So you get pre-built screens with all the functionalities. Obviously, all the data here is dummy data. When you download that, you get a collection of data in memory. But it's up to you to build your business logic and connect it to SharePoint or Dataverse and so on. I don't know. And the videos. Yeah. So here it shows you how the so for the attendees of the call today, you get a coupon code you can download for free, the template you want. You have also some components that you can download for free if you want to build things like org chart, or you want some nice buttons with gradient background, icons, and these kinds of things. Again, everything here is for Power Apps Canvas apps. And let me share in the chat the coupon code for that. So Impact26 is the code you can use to download for free any of those templates. Obviously, the components are free. We have also a blog about different things related to UI, UX, and Power Apps development. So, accessibility, dark and light mode, and so on. So feel free to give it a go. You have a coupon to download for free. And if you have any questions, please do let me know.
Thank you very much, Samir. So we'll share those information via email as well.